but I will perhaps protect myself by saying that it's too soon to tell.
Okay.
Just one meeting, just one observation. So.
Can I just add one thing? I think, in a sense, your question has also a deeper angle than just pure personalities. And I think the answer to your question is really that continuity, credibility, and consistency are of the essence in the way we carry out our jobs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Werdia, yeah.
Werdia Ait Abdelmalek for the French news agency AFP here.
Okay.
I didn't catch your answer about lender of last resort, so I ask you once more. To help the Eurozone, is the ECB ready to buy more bonds, and for how long?
To buy?
More public bonds, and for how long?
Yeah. Well, I in a sense, I've answered to this question before. I think the essence, let me just step back a moment. For a long time, spreads between sovereign bonds in euro area were very, very thin. The point of fact is that they were not reflecting the different realities of different countries. Countries were different because their public finances were in a different state, because their initial conditions were different. There were countries with low debt, countries with high debt, because their growth prospects were different, because their competitiveness was different. And then we had the financial crisis of 2000, the end of 2007, 8, 9. That increased risk aversion by all the investors worldwide and made their analysis, I would say, more perceptive of the different risks in different countries. And that's how the explosion of sovereign spreads started. Now, as we had what the economists called undershooting for a long period of time, we may now have overshooting. But the point, the way to react to this is not so much to count on external help that could alleviate the temporary market pressures. But it's actually, the real answer is to count on the country's capacity to reform themselves with the right economic policies. And I listed them before. To the Italian question, I think. Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. You, sir. Yeah.
Stefan Balling, Börsenzeitung. Mr. Draghi, you said the S&P is limited. Can you tell us what is the limit?
Well, you are told what is the limit every week.
Yeah, but
so you were given communication
in a perspective, not in a not looking back.
No, of course we don't. That is, but you are told. I mean, there's a continuous communication every week on the amounts that are being purchased.
And a second question, if I may.
You may.
There are more and more concerns about the balance sheet of the ECB. Some economists say the S&P, but also the credit you give to the Greek banks might cause significant downrights, especially if Greece, of course, fails. So, as an economist, would you say the Eurosystem can operate with negative equity capital bases? Thank you.
Yeah, there is a strange... I would say there is a strange schizoid attitude because on one hand people say that our balance sheet is at risk. Others say we should expand our balance sheet to help everybody. So the point of fact is that our balance sheet is not at risk, that the decisions, there have been many things that have been decided in the last European Council which made the Greek debt and the Greek counterparties are compliant with our requirements. Our requirements for collateral are that, number one, our counterparties should be sound. Number two, that the collateral should be adequate. So there have been measures to recapitalize in the banks. There have been measures of credit enhancement. There have been measures giving guarantees on term funding. there have been other measures that basically are reassuring as far as the ECB balance sheet now. Thank you.
Thank you. Jean-Philippe, yeah.
Thank you. Jean-Philippe Lacour from Les Echos. So, Mr. Draghi, you do not agree with Mr. Sarkozy or Ms. Merkel when they said when the Greek people have to decide about the rescue plan, they have to decide whether or not to stay in the Eurozone. It's their interpretation. And
I'm sorry, I don't agree with about.
With the head of state of government,
Yes.
Sarkozy or Merkel said the Greek people have to decide whether or not to stay in the Eurozone with this referendum.
Well, no, that's a different statement. Until about 2 hours ago, that's why it's so hard to comment on a political situation. It's fast evolving. Until 2 hours ago, there was a prospect of having a referendum in Greece. That actually had thrown markets into disarray, as you've seen in the last 2 days. Then the issue was immediately people focused on what kind of questions are you going to ask in this referendum, and one, in a sense, the answer that the Chancellor Merkel and President Sarkozy were giving is you shouldn't ask detailed questions on whether are you in favor of higher taxes, are you in favor of this and that. But I think one should ask the general question whether a country is responsible and wants to stay in the Eurozone and wants to comply with the responsibilities that come with staying in the Eurozone. I think that was the meaning of that question, of that point made by the heads of state. Thank you.
Okay, next question, please. Yeah.
Rino Pellino from RAI Italian Television. For the next 36 hours, you are president of the International Stability Forum and from the ECB. You are going to the G20. Which role can you play to so that the new rules and the new for functioning of the international financial markets can change, and can you act in this direction also as president of ECB? And second question, that today's decision about the interest rates can help ECB also to buy less Italian or BTP or Spanish bonus?
I think the answer to the second question is no. They're two separate issues. They have nothing in common. The first question is I will present at the Cannes Summit, I will present the work of the FSB and the proposals of the FSB for the work to come in the course of next year. There are proposals that concern the G-SIFI rules, the global SIFI rules. There are proposals that concerns the legislative and regulatory implementation of the OTC, over-the-counter derivatives rules, where a substantial standardization is in its course, and proposals that concern the shadow banking system. We have substantially strengthened regulation for the regulated sector, but now we plan to increase the regulatory perimeter to include institutions that are now at the present in the so-called shadow or unregulated sector, and actually carry out the same activities as banks. So they should be subject to the same rules as banks. So these are the main proposals. Then there will be proposals about how to sort of enhance the governance or change the governance of the FSB. But that's going to be the main thrust of my presentation tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The three next are ladies in red, so the one next to you. Yes, could you give your question? No. Well, okay.
Okay, my name is Lin Li from Phoenix Chinese News. This is my first time I have a very short question. What do you expect to be China's contribution at G20 summit?
Well,